Hi everyone. Welcome to the Psychology and Spirituality, a Bridge to a Better Life discussion. Hello, I am your host, Marcia Trajano, and with me is our program founder, co-host, Jussara Korngold. Hi, Jussara, how you doing?
Hi, Marcia. Hi, everyone.
So good to be here. But if you're here with us and this is the first time you're watching our program, please note the Psychology and Spirituality weekly talks are based on the works by Joanna de Angelis. And we're here to offer the safe space to understand and to expand our spirituality concepts from a psychological lens. But don't know if you were with us last time, but Jusara and I met to introduce general concepts and tools that were presented or are presented to us to help all of us mitigate the impacts of anxiety when we go through this, and their impacts really go through the whole spectrum of physical, emotional, spiritual well-being. And because Joanna de Angelis insights are amazing, and they provide this roadmap for all of us who are seeking to overcome anxiety. And they also emphasize how possible, how easy, not easy, I don't know, but how possible it is to heal through the integration of the spiritual and psychological aspects of the self. But Jusara, before we start our conversation, I would like to recognize our very important organizations that are sponsoring our program. So thank you, TV Mansão do Caminho, the United States Spiritist Federation, the International Spiritist Council, and AMI Brazil. And for all of you who are here with us, please hit subscribe if you haven't already done so. And if you want to know more, please check our channel www.spiritist.us for more information, including aspects of spirituality and psychology concepts. But Jasada, as I mentioned before, we met last time, and I was really excited and anxious, quite frankly, to talk about anxiety. Why anxious? Because I think this is such an important topic. And at that time, we really were focusing on general ideas, general concepts, and the thought that in addition to some organizations that provide tools in their toolbox to deal with anxiety from a very material, right, a very specific performance-based results. We talked about the toolbox, the tools in the toolbox of Joanna de Angelis, and how they help us better cope with anxiety. And quite frankly, she has a beautiful way to not only view anxiety, to go for the root causes of anxiety and the symptoms of perhaps deeper existential issues that we have. But with that, I propose today we do a little bit different. Shall we go through some of the works by Joanna de Angelis? In I'm going to throw you a citation and we talk about it. Do you want to do this, Jusada, today?
Sure, absolutely. Juana's literature is so rich, and
Yes.
I think it's important that we have this citation and be able to explore even more what she's bringing to us.
All right, so let's get started, right? Most of those books that I would like to present to Jusara, this is a competition, everyone, anxiety-driven competition. No, just kidding. But most of the books were published in English by Leal Publisher. I'll let you know what they are. The first one, which is by far my very favorite book, written by Joanna de Angelis in close collaboration with Divaldo Franco, is called Existential Conflicts. And yes, yes, thank you. It has been published in English by Leal Publisher. So the quote is, are you ready, Jusara?
Yes.
So, anxiety emerges from the fear of the unknown the uncertainty of the future, and the unresolved conflicts that dwell within the subconscious. It is a reflection of the disconnection between the self and the divine essence that lies within each individual. What can we talk about this beautiful quote in Existential Conflicts?
Actually, so much, right? Just by
It's
you,
very deep.
uh,
Yeah.
it seemed that the words just came even clearer, because she divided the anxiety here in presenting three of the possible reasons why we can show signs of anxiety. And
Mhm.
just to remind everyone, we in one of our podcasts we mentioned about anxiety, and in one case as being a natural anxiety, a natural process that is very common on the day-to-day lives, depending on what we are going to be doing, new things, new people we are going to be meeting, new challenges, which we are not going to be talking as being damaging. On the contrary, it can be a very good way of helping us survive, being alert to situations, etc.
I
Like,
think, just that, sorry to interrupt you, but I think this is from a clinical perspective, they call that GAD, right? General anxiety disorder. This is like our day-to-day fears and emotional reaction to moments of pressure. Is that correct?
yes, absolutely. And then we talked about the psychological state, the not psychological, the
The
pathological,
the pathological. Yes.
state, which
Yeah.
is when this is a constant, there is an aggravation. Of course, everything may be triggered by a simple case of natural anxiety, the get, but
Yeah.
we have to pay attention to that. So here, one of the things that she lists that can be a form of anxiety,
Mhm.
how it can start is the fear of the unknown.
Yeah.
Again, when we are talking an anxiety here, we may be talking about the two cases, the natural anxiety and the pathological anxiety. They can
Mhm.
be triggered by the same things. The only difference being that one already became something that we have to really look for medical treatment. So the fear of the unknown. Who among us will not fear that? Um, uh, of course, the main one that comes to mind is what happens to us after death, right? It's the unknown. But let's stay on planet Earth and say, you have to go and be an exchange student in a different country, very far from your country. Let's say you are in the US or in Brazil or whatever you are, and you have to move to Australia. So it's very far, and very difficult for us to adapt with the difference in time as well, all of those things. So there is this, I don't know what am I going to find, how is going to be life. And very briefly, I remember that when I moved from Brazil to England 31 years ago, in 1993. The first time I went to the supermarket, I look at there and I felt like crying because everything was different. I didn't
Yes.
know what to buy. Even a simple soap, a bath
Mhm.
soap. I mean, there was so many varieties and all those that I didn't know. So this fear of the unknown is one of the things that she mentions here. Then she talks about the uncertainty of the future.
Mhm.
And this is, I think it's an illness of our past century, current century.
Yes.
We are always worried about what is going to happen in the future, how we are going to be health wise or professional or financial independency, all of those things that really preoccupies us. And
Mhm.
but the thing is, do we have reason to worry about that? And if you do, what are you doing about it today to
Yes,
prevent those things to happen? The one that is more difficult that she mentioned here is about the unresolved conflicts that we have in our subconscious. And this not only deals with things that we have in the current life as in the previous ones. So for all of those that have gone into therapy or have been, pondering about your life, meditating about your life, trying, to go through a process of really self-discovering, we will sometimes find things that, I think I know now what is the reason for my current behavior. Because
correct.
when I was a child and we talked about anxiety in childhood and all that, and how, even the anxiety of parents can manifest in the child as well. Maybe I'm that anxious because I grew up with certain concepts, or I bring that from previous incarnations and that now are kind of dormant because they seem to be dormant, but they are
Mhm.
there, very much working themselves into interfering in my comments, in my way of behaving. So those, the unresolved conflicts, I mean, we have to address them from the end to the beginning. Like, what is the symptom that I have now?
Yes.
So I will analyze the symptom, and then I will be able, or more able, to get to the root of it.
Yeah.
Why I'm behaving this way.
And just how to, if we think about it, right? So we're talking about the existential conflicts, but what you said, which is a deeper link between our material experience and our spiritual nature, right? As they collide and the conflict that results from that. But if we move back to planet Earth, as you mentioned, right? If we go back to, okay, I'm not well. I believe this is not a general day-to-day anxiety that we all go through. This is really, there's a pathological impact to my life. I'm not doing well. I cannot perform at work. I'm not well with my family. Whatever it is, the context. Whenever you seek help, that's the first thing they're going to go through, right? Trying to understand what is the root cause, of course, from a material life only, as practitioners of psychiatry or psychology or psychoanalysis, they're really rooted into the material life, this existence. But they will ask and they'll try to see, is there trauma that we can work with, etc., etc. But I think what's beautiful about this seeking of the root cause is that Joanna brings an additional layer to it, right, Josara? That she brings the idea of going deep because it's in your unconscious, your personal or collective unconscious. And when we talk about maybe collective unconscious, is the fact, this is what came to my mind as we're speaking here, Josara, is the fact that perhaps there are shifting cultural, almost cataclysmatic shift in society, that what was held consciously or not as my true north, right? As my direction, it is now shifting. For example, I don't know, artificial intelligence and the incredible fear that I see in my field of work, Jussara, where many professionals are just like, what's going to happen to my profession? I'm becoming obsolete, and there's this anxiety that's coming just from a new technological tool that is being brought to us. And it's very hard to see this, but it can be the root cause for our anxieties, right?
Yeah, it's so interesting that while you were talking about it, I was just thinking that when technology
Hmm.
uh, catches us,
Yes.
it means that we have to run faster,
Right. Good point. Yeah.
right? I mean, maybe we are too accommodated, and
Yes.
now technology will help us because there was always like this, right? If we think about everything before, the fear of the technological advancements, right? And we may start with the TV. People were
Hmm.
resistant to have a TV because it was going to be bad for your eyes, or I don't know,
Yeah.
it will consume too much time from the family, which it can be true, but
Yeah. All
almost.
those things are true,
And
but right.
a
Yeah.
washing machine because it's going to damage the material, or it's not going to be as fresh or as clean, or
Hmm.
all those advancements. And I think that in a way is, I mean, this is my way of viewing. Okay, if everyone can of course agree or disagree, but it's like God is shaking us up and saying, listen,
Yeah.
um, don't accommodate yourself to that.
Yeah.
Now
Yeah.
machines can do that for you. I'm giving you extra time to
Yeah.
excel.
There is something else, Giuseppe, if I may say. It's this awareness of potential complacency of the entire humanity, right? Our human race is becoming complacent and bored, and we're not doing enough. There's not enough to do, and boom, you're pushed, right? But I keep thinking
Yes.
that perhaps it is also the fact that we, let's, the example is artificial intelligence. We are pushed to actually confront our humanity because we're losing it. We're leaving our essence, the best of what we are, behind to become what we're not, to become artificial, to become a replica of what everybody else is. And now this is pushing us to say, no, 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 right? I'm going to pick on you, Jussara. Jussara is a unique, a beautiful, a an individual that has brought with her, has amassed with her in this existence and many others, this amazing, I don't know, this amazing bouquet of flowers that exemplifies all her accomplishments, collectively speaking. And why are we not exploring that versus trying to Jusada once, I'm just joking here, but become, I don't know, Kardashian or whatever, right? We have become a group of followers, of influencers, and we're losing ourselves in the process. So wake up time, thank you God, wake up time to try to push for the amazing, beautiful aspects of our own humanity.
Yeah, I was thinking that, bringing it back to the
Mhm.
ego and the
Yeah,
self,
yeah,
we could say, the ego, when we see, like, is a fact. When, I mean, I think of myself as being the and the only one, or one of the only ones
right.
that can perform certain tasks, and all of a sudden a machine can do that.
And
So
better and
uh,
faster, right?
if you stay in the ego,
Yeah,
you will feel really
exactly.
hurt,
Yeah,
uh,
yeah,
affected about
yeah,
that. But if you go, to where the self wants to take you, saying, those are minor things. there is so much more than you are and that you can accomplish. And so in terms of the spiritual fulfillment, so I
Yes.
mean, you will look at the help from the machine, so to say, the technological advances, with an eye of saying, thank God that is something that is now saving my time. I can
Absolutely.
use my time more productively, and I can be more efficient in general. So I think, and so, depending on how we look at things, we are going to be more anxious or not. Like, this perfectly understandable anxiety of, oh my God, are they going to substitute me? So far we have so much experience about that already. And it
Yeah,
happened, right?
yeah,
Um,
yeah,
it was never the case of substituting the person by a machine, just complemented and speed up the process. So but it's like I said, a very valid point, and I think that in a way, with all the things, I mean, is do not accommodate and
yeah.
accept challenges without feeling anxious about it, right? I think, which is the topic
Beautiful.
that we are discussing
Yeah.
right now.
All right. I'm going to go for another book.
Okay,
I want to keep on the pressure, Jussara.
just want to raise my hand, not hand.
So I'm going to ask for a different book that is quite surprising because its title, if you were to pick up in the bookstore, you would never expect that it's going to be talking also about anxiety. The book's title is Happy Life, again by Joanna de Angelis, of course, and it's also available in English, published by Leal Publisher. So pay attention, right? The quote is anxiety is the absence of faith. When you trust in the divine providence and align your life with the eternal laws, anxiety fades and serenity takes its place. All right, Jusada, take it away.
Okay. It's one point that is very important when we are talking about anxiety as well. And we mentioned that briefly on another occasion, that it's the absence of faith. And faith in this case, of course, so when we talk about faith, we almost always relate to religious belief, to spiritual beliefs,
Yeah,
but it means also, having a high self-esteem. It means, believing in yourself. This is what is faith that we are talking about here as well. So, but in this case, when Joanna de Angelis is mentioned this particular aspect, she's pointing a bit more into the direction of spirituality, because the thing is, we are we have so much resources, and of course experience from being incarnate, right, being in the physical body, about the material life, the material aspects of life, that mm, we tend to overlook the importance of spiritual life, of us as being an immortal spirit. So when we disconnect too much from the spiritual truths, it's like, when we are talking about, you know,
hmm,
um, being afraid of what is going to happen in the future. We don't even know how much future we do have it, right? So I'm here worried about 30 years from now, and maybe I'm just going to live 20 years. And I spent a great part of my time worrying about years that I'm not even going to be here
yeah,
living. So understanding that we are immortal spirits, that there is this law of cause and effect, that I'm the one that is sowing what I'm going to be reaping in the future.
Absolutely.
So having this spiritual perspective is going to
Mm-hmm.
help us in this acquisition of faith, faith in ourselves, faith in the divine providence, faith that we can, if we really apply ourselves to it, we can overcome.
Yeah.
Faith as well, that even if times are hard, there is a purpose behind all that. And I
Mm.
remember that you mentioned as well that anxiety is a very important tool as well to push us forward, spiritually speaking, you
Yeah.
know. So I think that is basically, she's trying to guide us into that, because also when we think about the toolbox, what can I do spiritually speaking that
Mm-hmm.
can help me in the sense of reducing my level of anxiety? There
Mm-hmm.
we have the spiritual indications of prayer, meditation, engaging yourself in good work, in charitable work, and
Mm-hmm.
in surrounding yourself with things that are going to uplift you. Of
Awesome.
course, we do not have the full command of what is happening in the world, but what is happening in me and around me, I do have it. I choose, the channels on TV that we are going to be showing live what is happening in the war, or I can choose something that is going to be more enlightening, more
Yeah.
uplifting, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. So I think it's pretty interesting when you bring it up, right? This what is she talking about in terms of anxiety is the absence of faith, right? But also the antidote, my word, right? Antidote to anxiety is really a sense of inner peace, right? And faith, that inner peace is a byproduct of your faith. And beautifully said when you mentioned that it's not so much religiosity, but it's your sense of spirituality, your connection to God, not to religion, right? It doesn't matter what that is, but that's a sense of connectedness that is going to bring us inner peace and a sense of balance. Beautiful. Are you ready for some more? Can I
Yeah.
take another one? All right. So now I'm going to take another book. You showed your existential conflicts. I'm going to show you this book. I don't know if you remember that, right? After the Storm. And in this little book, it's quite short, a book of several messages. There, Joanna cites the following: anxiety is rooted in the fear of loss and the attachment to transient things. Woohoo! Jussara, now she's going at a different level, right? Fear of loss as well as the attachment to transient, ephemeral, things that will go away. So she continues, by understanding that nothing in the material world is permanent, and by trusting in the wisdom of divine planning, one can achieve a state of inner tranquility. What can we talk about anxiety from that perspective, Josara?
Well, it's the art of
Yes.
detachment, right?
Yeah.
Which is kind of hard because we tend to be, as human beings, very possessive. It's I, it's it's mine, and this is how often we refer to things, my books, or my relatives, or my circle of my, or mine, and of course, everything that is palpable can be lost.
Yes.
right?
And I would say even what's not tangible, palpable, right? Just out of,
Yeah,
because you mentioned, you alluded to that. It's my husband, my children. Yes, you can touch them, but then we go on my nationality, right? My identity, my job description, and it's like, oh, let's transcend that. But go on.
but you see, in a way, even when it's not tangible, it can
Hmm.
be related to tangibility,
Yes, yes,
right?
yes.
But I agree that there are some certain things. I mean, you can lose your mind.
That's right.
Of course, the reasons why you lost your mind may be implicated in the tangible, more related to the tangible things.
Yes.
But I think it's so interesting. And by the way, I love this book, After the Storm, starting from the title,
Yes.
because it says, the storm was here, but it passed. And it to me is always like a remembrance of, even if you are in the storm now, it will pass, and you have to prepare for after the storm, because
Yes.
there will be things for to put in place, and virtues that you have to acquire in order to deal with all of that. And in a sense, even the common sense of knowing now what is important and what is not. So again, she puts together anxiety and fear, but in a sense that they are relate closely tied to this material attachment, to
Yes.
fear of losing, even the fear of death. I mean, from for us, the majority of religions in the world believe in the immortality of the soul. They differ on what happens after, but they know that we continue. So if we are just leaving this garment that is my physical body, why do I have to be so attached to it?
Yes.
Even when we are talking about getting to old age, the decay that is presented and all of that. I was reading this week, doing the translation of the Spiritus Review 1865, and working
Uh-huh.
uh, one of the spirits, Dr. Demure,
Yeah.
telling her he feels so great. He's so happy that he's young again. And then
Oh,
explains
lovely.
himself by saying, it's not that I want to be young or look young, but I mean, everything that youth brings to you, that is being in a good state, not in the state of decay that happens with age. So,
Mhm.
yeah, so why being so attached? So, here, the key words being anxiety and fear, again,
Mhm.
calling our attention to reflect on that. Why
Mhm.
are you anxious about? Is it related to fear? Is it related more to things that you cannot control? Okay, my son, my daughter is going to marry, and now they're going to have another family, and I'm going to be forgetting about me. I'm going to lose my child, my son or a
Yes.
daughter. No, we are not going to lose them ever. And that's the beauty about spiritism. The
Yes.
relationships, the relations that are based on love are going only to be strengthened. So there is
That's
no
right. Yeah.
anxious about it.
Yeah. Oh, this is beautiful. I could talk about this book forever, but let's keep going because I'm challenging Jussara here, everyone.
Yeah.
Continue with our fourth one. I'm now shifting to the integral human being. Unfortunately, this book has not yet been published in English, so this is a citation that has been translated locally. So let me see if you can just really think, pay attention, Josiah. Anxiety is a symptom of the fragmentation of the psyche, where the conscious mind is overwhelmed by the subconscious fears and unresolved conflicts. Spiritual practices and self awareness are essential to overcoming this imbalance. And I'll repeat the first part because to me it is so profound what Joanna brings in this book, right? Anxiety is a symptom of the fragmentation of the psyche where the conscious mind is overwhelmed by the subconscious fears and unresolved conflicts. Take it away, Jussara.
It's so amazing how Joanna de Angelis can talk about the same topic and yet bring so many different aspects from the topic, and
Yes.
even
Mhm.
going deeper, and which is this case in this book, The Integral Human Being,
Mhm.
when she talks about this fragmentation of the psyche, and when our conscious mind becomes overwhelmed by things, by fears, conflicts that come from the subconscious
Mhm.
mind. And I think that one of the examples that we may give it to you, maybe you may be familiar with that, those that are listening to us, is that all of a sudden you have this anguish, you have this worry, you have this almost like you can even say, I fear something, and you do not know what it is.
I cannot put my finger on it, but I feel it, right? The feeling is very real, but I cannot put
Yeah.
words into it or quite imagine what it is.
And what is the reason for that? I
Yeah.
just have fear, but consciously speaking, I don't know from where this is coming from.
Mhm.
And it can be exactly what she's saying here now. The subconscious invade the conscious mind. So it brings memories, worries, traumas from before. And
Mhm.
again, before we say from early um, ages at this time, at this incarnation, or even from previous incarnations, and all of a sudden, perhaps one thing that you are doing now triggers your subconscious mind to bring about the one of the experiences it had during childhood or a previous existence, without bringing the whole story. Because if
Yes.
you knew from where it comes from, the whole story, perhaps it wouldn't bring you that much fear or anxiety. And
Yeah.
so, it's when you are in this state of fear, when there are those thoughts or emotions, like you said, because sometimes it is not clear. It's
Yeah.
not clear. And I can tell you from experience, okay? It's hard to put it into words, but I've lived that. All of a sudden, uh,
Yes. Yeah.
people ask me, or my husband asks me, what is going on? I tell him, I don't know. It's like
Yeah.
I have this fear, and I don't know why and from where it's coming from. And
Yes.
so, but again, she pinpoints the situation, but she gives an alternative. She gives something that can help you to deal with that, which is, to uh, go for spiritual practices, self-awareness, psychological healing, to restore your balance. So this is what she says is very essential. So with reason, I say, there is no reason why I should be feeling this way, with fear, with anxiety. If it is something from my past I cannot control anymore,
Yeah.
but I'm open to try to read in between the lines what it was and how can I deal with that today. And to calm ourselves down, to collect ourselves into a moment of praying. And when you say praying, is not go after some memorized prayers, but just a conversation with our creator, and the good spirits that protected us, saying, enlighten me and on the subject on and how can I deal with that and give me strength to deal with that. So this is what we are talking about here. This is what Joanna de Angelis is saying. She's bringing this as being one of the problems that may arise, or may be the root when we are talking about anxiety and fear, and not to mention that all of that can lead us to depression as well, right?
Yeah.
And so
There's
how to deal with that?
Yeah, there's one thing that just comes to my mind, Jussara, if you don't mind, is that when we talk about the integral human being as a concept, the book is beautiful, right? But when we talk about that idea of integral, meaning one, and one is it leads to the idea of the path to individuation or plenitude. Joanna has another book. I'm not going to cite it today, Josara. You're relieved to know that because it's an amazing book. But the concept of individuation that Jung brings, right, Carl Gustav Jung, is a sense of tension between the two forces. And when I see this quote about the fragmentation of the psyche, where the conscious mind, so your ego, right, the center of your conscious mind, is overwhelmed by the unresolved conflicts in your subconscious, right? And that's this sense of tension between those two polars, conscious and unconscious, and why every time for you to reach balance, when you do inner discovery work, right? When you, some people call the shadow work, that you try to unveil certain areas that are hidden from yourself, and it brings light to it, that becomes perhaps even overwhelming because it's no longer balanced. So Joanna, and both Joanna and Jung, they bring about the idea that it's a tension, that tension exists on purpose. So it's important for us to understand that while when we feel anxiety, we can pinpoint to that attention, that it is normal. It is actually how we grow, how we evolve spiritual toward our individuation. All right, I think we have time for one more. Um, shall we go to family constellation?
I think we should go to the times of health and consciousness, perhaps.
Okay, let's do that. She knows what I have, all the books, and Josara knows that there is another one that is another rather small in print but beautiful book. So
Right here.
Times of Health. Yes, look at her. She's ready, everyone. Times of Health and Consciousness. It's also published by Leal Publisher. So if you want to buy it, go. It's also available through Amazon. Beautiful book. But anyways, the quote that I want to bring to you, Jusara, is the following, right? Anxiety is not only a mental disturbance, but also a spiritual disconnection that manifests physically. Holistic healing requires attention to all aspects of the self, which encompasses mind, body, and spirit. Take it away.
Yes, this is a very good topic for us to when thinking about finishing this podcast, because it talks about a broader perspective in terms
Mhm,
of dealing with emotional imbalances, like
mhm,
is the case of anxiety. When she says we cannot think about anxiety only thinking about a physical problem, the physical manifestation of anxiety.
correct. Mhm,
We have to think about it as, a result from the emotional state that the person is, that again is not only related to what the person is experiencing in this lifetime. So this is when we have to remember and think about the spirit as an immortal being, and that perhaps, and actually this is the case, the majority of cases, we bring from the experiences of the immortal spirits
Mm-hmm.
things that are going to be impacting us, for the good, for the bad, the traumas, the good experiences that we live it and stage stronger with us, and strongly weigh with us. And it's going to manifest through the mind, through the emotions, through our physical being, emotional
Mm-hmm.
and physical being. So let's say that I am a person that, in previous incarnation, liked music, was a musician. Maybe I'm not even going to be a musician today, but I will have this love for music, and I will. Whenever possible, will like to go to concerts and all of those things. Or let's say that I have an experience of a car accident, or an accident of some sort, and I
Mm-hmm.
may be now one of those persons that do not want to drive. It's afraid of driving because I have this recollection, or I'm afraid of heights because in a previous incarnation, I fell off a cliff, or things of
Mm-hmm.
this nature, or drowned, and now I'm afraid of the water. There are all those things that we bring with us that is stored somehow, and that
Yeah.
we cannot find a reasonable explanation if we only set our eyes in the present life. So
Yes.
here is when she says, remember that everything comes from the spirit, and it resonates in the emotion the spirit brings, and in the physical body when this is the case. So now I'm a person that has drowned in a previous incarnation. Every time I get too close to the water, or even if I go to the beach or to the pool, and it's too deep, I start feeling anxious. My heart is racing. I don't
Yeah.
feel well. When everybody is having the time of their lives, I'm in this kind of situation. It brings me so much anxiety, and I cannot explain. And sometimes people just say, "Oh, you're silly. How come you're still afraid of the water? You want an adult?" And so those
Uh-huh.
things, and this is what she's saying. In order for us to be really healed of something, we have to see ourselves in three aspects. I am spirit above all. I am emotions. I am the result of everything that the spirit has lived, and it is going to impact, through my mind, through my emotions, how I'm going to behave now. And I am
Mm-hmm.
a physical body that I mean, if I have these anxieties all the time, immediately I'm going to trigger a chemical response in my body that is going to affect my physical body, because
Absolutely.
something that is coming from the physical, spiritual, emotional aspect. So this is how I think, that she shows that anxiety is a multi-facet
Yeah.
issue that comes from, especially from this disconnection
Yeah.
between this individual's spiritual essence and the material experiences. And this is what we are trying to bring to you.
Yeah.
Instead of just feel afraid, or just do not feel, have courage to face your
Yes.
fears, your anxiety, and say, you're I know you're there, but
Mhm.
we are going to find a way of living in harmony.
Yeah. And Jussara, it is very important when we give this holistic view of anxiety, right? And there is a really increased body of research today that is looking for the biological, right? The organic, if you will, roots of anxiety. And there is a lot of good results in treating, but they're treating only that aspect. So I think it's important to understand good news. We have better and better for pharmaceutical drugs to treat uh, your anxiety. But let's look at what Joanna is bringing to us, and really take to heart those discussions that Jussara brought to us. We came to a conclusion. We cited 5 different books. It will be in the it is in the description of our podcast. So take a moment to look at it. And before I close, I just want to say, Joanna tells us how important to have a positive mindset, to use the tools in the toolbox, such as prayer, meditation, to have that beautiful and trusting relationship with the divine, aka faith, right? And look and focus on the eternal. Let's not focus on what's ephemeral, that is material in essence and will diminish no matter what, right? Think of the pyramids. It attempts to counter to it, but the pyramids themselves are also in a state of decay, right, from its heydays. And it's just that let us trust in the divine. Let us be connected with our essence. Let's be courageous and look into our own path and welcome our integral human being, our individuation. Jussara, I want to say bravo. Thank you for taking this special day today to go over certain quotes and citations, and to break them down so we can understand better. Everyone, we'll see you next episode. Thank you so much for being here, and let us know what you think, what we didn't talk, what are your feedback. Thanks, everyone.